Every US state has a different story when it comes to interstate highways. Looking at somewhere like Delaware, despite being in the east which generally has more interstate connections, they have nothing outside the Wilmington metro. Wouldn't it be an easy idea to build one down to the beach communities in the south part of the state and then into Maryland? I'm sure if Joe Biden was president back then, he'd get her done, but it was Dwight Eisenhower at the time, who was from Texas, just about the opposite. So either way, Delaware got very few connections, but somewhere like Connecticut felt like it got connections everywhere, with 8 interstates for just the small state, connecting everywhere you would need to go. Another state with a seemingly insane amount of interstates is Illinois, with 23 to be exact. This, along with several undesignated freeways, has come from an insane history of planning and politics, and has resulted in the worst interstate system in the US. So let's talk all about it. Before that though, please consider subscribing because I appreciate it a ton, and then join my Discord as well, where we talk about geography every day and have fun events, like a GeoGuessr League and a Mock City, which are going on right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you. So looking at the Illinois interstate system, it doesn't seem too crazy. All the central cities are connected to each other, and it's actually in a fairly unique situation in that regard. See, there's not a lot of states that have so many mid-sized cities. Personally, I think of somewhere like North Carolina, and though a lot of these cities are larger, what's important is that they're all connected, and the state does have a yucky-looking, extensive freeway system. Moving back to Illinois though, they just have so many metro areas. Chicago is obviously the third largest in the country, but Peoria Metro is ranked 156, with Rockford at 160. Bloomington, Springfield, and Champaign are then all in the top 300, with Decatur not far behind. So it seems like it makes sense, right? Well, if we dig a little deeper, we find that things don't really hold up. Let's start with going through some of these smaller examples, starting with the worst interstate in the country, I-180. If you're a fan of the channel, you may have heard of this highway, but it's never bad to have a refresher. Located in central Illinois, it meets I-80 near Princeton and heads south towards the Illinois River. Hitting a Y interchange with a big nothing burger of a road, it takes a quick turn to the east. And passing over the Gudman-Jessen Bridge into a tiny village of Hennepin, it ends. So if you're following along, this was a 13-mile interstate to a village of 700 people, when we have metro areas of over 1 million residents with no interstate access. So you may ask, what's in Hennepin? Well, I'll tell you what. Absolutely nothing. See, back in the 1960s, when they were designing the interstate system, Illinois officials pushed for this to be built, likely to connect to the Jones and Laughlin Steel Company on Hennepin's northern boundary, which comes from the fact that it opened operations the same year the interstate was built. This plan struggled to stay operating, and ownership was transferred 2 times before they officially ceased operations in 2009, and the building was then demolished in 2017. This leaves Hennepin with basically nothing. And it leaves I-180 with pretty much no important uses. But hey guys, at least Bureau Junction has an interstate connection. Thank goodness. As of 2011, the usage numbers were by far the lowest in the US, with an ADT of 2,600. And this can be seen on Street View, where it's pretty much totally empty. Adding on to that, the road is in terrible condition, but at least there were finally repairs done to the Gudman-Jessen Bridge in 2020. It gets worse though. Remember the Nothing Burger interchange I mentioned? While getting into its more deep history, this was meant to go all the way down to Peoria before the project was cancelled. This can be seen by a nasty ghost ramp on the north end of the Peoria Metro, where State Route 6 was meant to stretch farther north, but just died in a random field. So they then constructed an entire interchange just to stop it from looking even dumber than it already does. Another highway worth mentioning that slips through the cracks is I-72. It fills out the overall map, but did we really need this entire part of it? A connection to Decatur and Springfield makes sense, but the next 90-odd miles goes to a massive metropolitan area of Hannibal, Missouri. The city has a population of under 17,000, and it's been shrinking for several decades. The overall route had a lot to do with connecting to Kansas City, but people would be fine just going through St. Louis, and it doesn't even stretch that far anyways, so it doesn't need to be mentioned. No, in reality, this long highway gets to just outside Hannibal, and then you actually need to take a turn to get to Missouri. Otherwise, you're routed onto the state's second worst interstate, I-172. This one stretches 20 miles to the declining city of Quincy before just ending. And it doesn't even go through the city of Quincy, it simply stays to the east. This highway has an ADT of just 13,000, and would have worked just fine as a smaller 4-lane road or even a parkway. This, and especially I-72, brings us back to the topic of Illinois having significantly too many interstates. And this just comes from the time period when it was all designed. Illinois had significantly more political pull than nearly all other states. So in an age where political favors were rampant, other politicians let the state get a ton of roads in hope that the power would make it back to them. And where did this power all come from? Well, the city I'm yet to talk about is Chicago. This city has some crazy freeway infrastructure. I-90 passes directly through the downtown, dealing with chaotic traffic through the entire way. This reaches its peak at the Jane Byrne interchange, which provides direct access to the loop. It carries over 400,000 vehicles per day, and prior to 2013 was known for being one of the worst traffic bottlenecks in the United States. This led to a $200 million reconstruction project that reduced congestion by 50%, although meant drivers would have to deal with crazy construction in downtown Chicago for like 5 years. Yippee. Anyways, it's much better now, but there's only so much you can do when a billion trillion people use it every day. Then there's a lesser known part of Chicago's history, and honestly something basically never talked about before, and this is the plan for a lakefront freeway connecting from downtown Chicago all the way up to Milwaukee. The first remnant we find of this is the north end of Lakeshore Drive, or LSD as I really love calling it. It's built to freeway standards, and at one point came with the plan to extend it farther, possibly even as an interstate. It could have to do with just the high volume of traffic, but no, at some point it came with a plan to extend it much farther north, proven by the strange expressway along the coast, the Amstutz Expressway in Waukegan. This one is one of the strangest in the entire country. Starting at Greenwood Avenue, it's a low traffic road with not a ton going on, and it extends down to Genesee Street before ending. This is a strange 2 miles, with a 50-mile-per-hour speed limit and pretty much no traffic at all. It feels nearly abandoned and has no real use. It makes a lot more sense though when you know the original plan was to expand it along the coast farther south towards downtown, as well as farther north to the state border. And then up in Wisconsin, things get completed. Yet another weird out-of-place freeway is the Lake Freeway, which goes through Milwaukee's downtown before turning south. And it's actually a freeway all the way until the Mitchell Airport, where it strangely ends. While this one had a clear plan, outlined in some weird websites online, to follow the Chicago Railroad through Oak Creek and all the way to Illinois border. It wouldn't follow directly on the waterfront, but it would be set up nicely to connect to the Amstutz Expressway in Waukegan, forming a brand new super freeway that never was, likely due to the extensive impact it would have caused. So there we have it. Instead of looking at more crazy scenarios and what ifs, we look at the current outlook. Illinois' past resulted in a really strange freeway system seen nowhere else, that I can confidently call the worst in America. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the members this week: Devontae, Underpass Music Official, the Autistic City Skylines fan, Richard Horwell, Forta Jake, Not Ayuda, RFP Rail fan, Dutch Vanderland, Big Golden Yoshi fan, James Cermak, Rob R, Big Pasty, Jameson Headley, Colonel Potter, Eric Harris, JC17, Jerome McCall, The Baked Fruit, Andres Quintero, Jesse Cook, Jalen Rigo, Richard Law, Alexander Lichko, Laura Halliday, Charles Watson, Aiden Kyles, Happy Ode, Grant Dickerson, Midwest Rail fan, Mick Kastner, D, Stephen Phillips, CJ Brick, Resident Contrarian, Hazep the Wolf, Brock Sanders, Stephen Priestman, SB Wilder, Makita Martinoff, Kurt Ainsley, KMS162, Bryson, Rosewood 4, Darkbird, Wolfley73, Snyder Schwein, Benjamin Whitings, and Ryan Devins. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you guys are enjoying the City Skylines content. I find them really fun, and I promise you all this money is just going to a good cause. It just goes right into my savings. So if you want to help me out as a person, this is absolutely the best way to do it. Thank you so much to everyone.